Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Craig Pera, and you are listening to Sex Afflictions and Porn Addictions, a podcast to help you create healthy sexuality in your life, and as a huge component of that, create a great life. Hope everybody's doing well. Hope you're doing well. Hope you are making choices to make your life better and pull yourself out of the shit storm that you might be in right now. If you're not, you got to do something about it. And today I want to talk about accountability. Okay. That means different things to different people, but I want to give you a framework for elevating your accountability, because here's the thing when it comes to accountability. We have accountability partners. You know what they are, right? An accountability partner is someone that you are obligated to be honest with about your behavior. And accountability partners, as we all know, are really, really, really important to recovery. In fact, when studied, one of the benefits of 12 steps is the community that's formed and the accountability that people have to each other, knowing they're going to have to report. But that's level one accountability. That's level one accountability, having someone else that you need to report to. That accountability needs to evolve. And I want you to ask yourself this question. And for you, has it evolved to a place where you are accountable to you? There's a very, very big difference between the two. Are you accountable to you? And one way to answer that question would be to bring awareness to your reliance on other people to make sure you do what you need to do. And if that's higher than your motivation, your drive, then the actions that you're taking to be the best you, then I suggest that you need to elevate your accountability game, and I want to help you do that in a really big way. So first, let's start with some definitions. So what is accountability, right? So Webster defines accountable as subject to having to report, explain, or justify, being answerable, responsible. Here's another definition that I found online that I absolutely love. A personal choice to rise above one's circumstances and demonstrate the ownership necessary for achieving desired results. To see it, own it, solve it, and do it. I'm going to read that again. A definition of accountability: a personal choice to rise above one's circumstances and demonstrate the ownership necessary for achieving desired results. To see it, own it, solve it, and do it. Think about those two definitions and the role that accountability is playing in your life. Is your accountability, as you define it, a sense of ownership, or is it primarily driven by your fear of exposure, fear of failing someone else? So many of you are relying on your partners for accountability, and that long-term is inherently harmful. Long-term, that's inherently harmful. To the extent that you are relying on anybody besides your drive, your willingness, your action, because you want it, you want a better you you're going to continue to struggle in a significant way. So what I want to do now is lay out very quickly, very briefly, a 3-part plan or 3 steps towards accountability. 3 steps towards true accountability that's going to drive long-term sustainable results. Because ultimately, that accountability, that ownership for results, that seeing it, owning it, solving it, doing it, ultimately must rest upon your shoulders because you are good enough, because you deserve it. And so step 1 in these 3 steps towards enhanced accountability is self-love. I want you to think about that for a second and answer this question, maybe while looking in the mirror. Do you love yourself? Do you love yourself? And what does that mean? What does that mean? That leads to step 2, because we can say we love ourselves, we can pretend we love ourselves, we can, ignore that part of us as men, women too, all of us, but this is mushy stuff. So you guys, love for self, that's pussy shit. What the frig are you talking about? Right? Because there's a hyper masculine bias against something that I believe is absolutely critical and fundamental, and that is love for self. And the reason for that is the driver of your addiction is that not good enough part of you. Is that part of you that lacks love for self. So you have to love yourself. How do you love yourself? The enhanced plan to greater accountability. Step 2 is through rigorous self-care. The way you love yourself is through rigorous self-care. What does that mean? And I don't want you to pretend that you want to be successful, that you want a better life, that you want to achieve in a significantly profound way if you aren't going to do the following things. Shatter that illusion. The sooner you shatter this notion that your diet isn't inexorably intertwined with your problem, the better off you're going to be. So operationalizing love for self, which we've talked about in other podcasts, go back and listen to that one if you haven't checked it out, because I'm going to just talk about it briefly here. But you love yourself when you eat well. You love yourself when you sleep well. You prove you love yourself through hydrating yourself well. Speaking of hydration, I'm going to have some tea. Eating, sleeping, drinking. You love yourself when you exercise. You love yourself when you take a moment, even a minute, to calm the chattering mind and practice mindfulness. So in your quest to true accountability, accountability for yourself, where you do things because you want to, because you believe you are worthy and you deserve it, comes from self-love, practice through rigorous self-care. The third piece is a plan. The third piece is a plan. And I want to give you a plan right now. A plan that you can use to elevate your accountability. And the plan is based upon the premise that what gets measured gets done. You know that, right? You have a job, you have a business, you deal with metrics in some way, shape, or form. Maybe you have a management role. Maybe you're an executive. Maybe you're just starting your career. But I promise you this, what gets measured gets done. What gets measured gets done. So that being said, if we can agree that the operationalization of self-love comes through rigorous self-care, then why don't we put a scorecard in place to see how well you are being accountable to you, how you are performing in these areas that are absolutely critical to being successful. And these are my fundamental 5, and we've talked about these in other places. It's eating, sleeping, drinking, exercising, and practicing mindfulness. So let's take those 5 areas, and I want you to measure your performance in them using a 4-point scale. Okay? And this is an exercise that you should do for 7 days. You want to elevate your accountability to you? Then let's see how you are performing in these 5 critical areas. Areas that there's no even debate are critical to long-term sustainable success. A score of 4 means that you are very happy with your performance in that subject. A score of 3 means that you are happy with your performance in that subject. A score of 2 means that you are unhappy with your performance in that subject. And notice there is no average. There is no mediocrity. There is no malaise. And that's for a very important reason, because that's just like stale water after a rainstorm. It may look pretty, it might feel all right, but a day later it's going to look like shit. We're moving towards success or away from success. No more illusion of status quo. Deal? 1 means you're very unhappy with your performance in your 5 critical areas, the fundamental 5. 4, 3, 2, 1. Part 1. Part 2 of the exercise is to identify what actions or inactions you executed upon that created that desired result. So for example, 4, I got a 4 in eating. I ate incredibly well, didn't deviate from my very strict diet, tried some new things that made my stomach feel better, ate at the right time, ate the right amounts, ate the right food. My poop is clean, barely have to wipe, no upset around my stomach. Well, that's a 4. That's a 4. Nailed it, because the actions I take is the life I make. All right, so if I scored a 1 in mindfulness, well, I didn't do shit. Didn't meditate, didn't reflect, didn't stop, didn't do yoga, didn't do any of the things that I need to do to keep this crazy in check, the things that you need to do to keep that crazy in check. I won. I performed terribly in the mindfulness category. So I want you to execute on this scorecard over the course of the next 7 days and possibly for the rest of your life, because what gets measured gets done. And in order for there to be accountability, there needs to be love for self, operationalized through rigorous self-care, through a plan. Through a plan. And this is your plan. So if you say your success is important to you, if you say that your sobriety, your sanity is important to you, and that you want to stop doing this thing, well, then you have to start doing something else. So bring awareness and attention to these areas in your life and start driving true accountability that rests in a belief system that you possess, that you are good enough, that you are worthy, that you are significant, and that you, at a minimum, deserve love. And you're going to give it to yourself. And you're going to give it to yourself. Critical to breaking free. Absolutely critical to breaking free. All right? So I'll catch you guys next week. Thank you so much for listening. Memento mori. Remember, you are going to die. Life is too short to suck. Embrace your power of choice. Bye-bye.